G'day guys, today I'm going to be showing you how I get all of this into this tiny backpack. So keep in mind, this is all the gear that I started the PCT with, but a lot of that changed along the way, so at the end I'll go through what's in my kit now. So to kick things off, I'll go through my big three first, which is my tent, my sleep system, and my backpack. For my tent, I use the all-famous Z-Packs Duplex. Half the time out there I just cowboy camped. The second half when mosquitoes got bad, a tent was necessary for me, so the Z-Packs Duplex. Me and my partner slept in this pretty much every night, and it was fine. Pretty much enough room for us. A little bit extra would have been great, but this did the job. With my tent, I also got a ground sheet. I've just got it in a little Ziploc bag, but that's just a Z-Packs Dyneema ground sheet. This is to protect your tent, protect the floor of your tent, and also when you're cowboy camping, you can just lay this out, lay all your gear on top of it, and you're off the dirt. So Z-Packs Dyneema ground sheet, 10 out of 10 recommend. For my sleep system, I went with the quilts this time. This is the Enlightened Equipment Revelation. I've been a sleeping bag guy my whole life, but I decided to switch it up and go a quilt for the PCT. I hadn't ever tried one before, but I'm so glad I did. It was so much comfier for me than a sleeping bag. I find I move a lot in my sleep and I tend to get tangled up in my sleeping bag, but having a quilt kind of gets rid of that. And on hot nights, you can just undo it and use it as a bit of a blanket. So Enlightened Equipment Revelation, also recommend. So the second half of my sleep system is my mattress. I use an inflatable mattress. This is an Exped Sinmat Winter. I've had this guy for years, so naturally I took it on the PCT with me, and I'm glad I did. I never had any punctures, leaks, anything like that. A lot of mattresses out there, like you hear people in the middle of the night inflating their mattress, or like in town putting them in bathtubs trying to find leaks, but yeah, I never had that problem and I never have with this guy. So yeah, this is the Exped Sinmat Winter. To tack on a little extra bit to my sleep system, I did bring a pillow. This is an Exped REM pillow. I've tried a lot of inflatables and this is definitely the best. In saying that, even when I did use a pillow out there, I had probably like 10% air in it, so I probably could get away with not bringing this. But if you are into inflatable pillows, this is probably the best one you're gonna find. So the last part of my big three is my backpack. I didn't start with this backpack. I got this one in Idlewild because my original backpack just wasn't really working for me. But this is a Hyperlight Windrider 40 litre. It's got a 40 litre internal capacity and then a 9 litre front and sides in the mesh, and it also has your hip pockets. Hip pockets are great. I would keep my head torch in one, my toothbrush and toothpaste in another, and my bug net. So I had quick access to all of that. I had my Peak Designs camera clip on the shoulder straps. This was great too. If you do want to bring a camera on the PCT, I highly recommend one of these clips. They're pretty foolproof. You can lock them so your camera's not going to fall out. And it's good just to have quick access. All I have to do is push one button and I can click my camera out and I'm ready to go. So the only bad thing I have to say about this pack is the shoulder straps are quite minimal. For some people that's great and that's what Hyperlight's going for, a nice light pack. But for me, I've had shoulder injuries before, so they tend to hurt my shoulders here and there. But other than that, great pack. So on the trail, there's kind of three options when it comes to eating food. You can cook it, you can cold soak it, or you can just eat honey buns and peanut butter. So for me, I started the trail by cooking. In terms of a cook setup, I would say this is probably one of the most compact you're gonna get. I kind of put this together myself. It's a Toke 650ml mug. Inside that, I have a Soto Amicus burner. These guys are great. They're so tiny and it works really well. And then my gas bottle's in there too. So it's super compact. Everything fits in there. You can even fit your Bic Mini lighter, and then it all fits in the palm of your hand. So if you're into cooking, highly recommend that little setup there. But in saying that, I will admit I'm now a cold soaker. At the start of the trip, I was one of those people that was I would never cold soak. I don't hate myself enough to do that. But as soon as I started doing it, I seen the benefits. It was so nice just to be able to get to camp and I could hop in my tent or lay out my sleeping stuff and just lay there in bed eating my food. I didn't have to worry about cooking or anything like that. Maybe an hour or two before camp, I would just put whatever I was cold soaking, usually rice or couscous, in this little jar, fill it with water, and then when I was at camp, it was ready to go. So give it a go. It's not as bad as it sounds and it has a lot of benefits. And the third option, you could be like my friends Stats, Yak and Nopols who don't cook at all, and their diet on trail was pretty much honey buns and donuts and things like that, but I do not recommend it. This is my electronics bag. A lot of people don't really need an electronics bag out there, but I took 2 cameras, so I had a lot of bits and pieces that I wanted to keep together. In here, I've got my power bank, which is a 20,000 milliamp hour Anker power bank. I had 2 cameras, my watch, my Garmin, and my phone, and this guy never went flat. I think once or twice it got pretty close in the Sierras maybe, but other than that, this was more than enough. You probably could get away with a 10,000 milliamp hour if you're not bringing a couple of cameras, but if you want that extra bit of security, 20,000 will do you well and you'll never run out. As well as that, I also have a couple of spare batteries for my camera, a couple of memory cards, and cables for charging things like my phone and Garmin. I try to minimize how many cables I brought. Like instead of bringing a full cable for my watch, I just found an adapter that went on the end of my phone cable. So if you're looking to minimize your kit, I would say look at things like that. There's always little ways you can cut down. Now, pretty similar to my electronics bag, I have my Diddy bag. Now, what a Diddy bag is, it's kind of a place that you can put everything that doesn't really have a home in your backpack. So I had a little medical kit, which I just put inside of a Ziploc here, Band-Aids, things like that. Don't overdo it on this, just bring what you need. You can always restock in towns. I had a cork massage ball, super handy, and a little repair kit for things like my tent, mattress, and sleeping bag. I didn't really need this much, but it was nice to know I had it. And my last thing in here was some antibiotic cream. I highly recommend taking some of this. You're gonna get blisters, you're gonna get cuts, and the last thing you want is for one of those things to stop you on trail. So take a little tube of cream and you'll thank yourself later. Oh, and one more thing, my tiny little pocket knife. You don't really need one of these guys, but it does make it easier if you're opening a lot of packaging and stuff like that. And some people like it for the safety aspect. So tiny little pocket knife. Definitely don't bring like a big multi-tool because no one ever uses them out there. So many people bring them and everyone sends them home. So if you want to bring anything, a tiny little pocket knife is all you need. Now, being international, I also had my passport. This guy was always double ziplocked up and it was shoved down like the back of my backpack. If you're bringing your passport out there, make sure you do double ziplock it and check it regularly. The last thing you want is to get to the end and you realize it's been water damaged and it's no longer valid. So please, if you're bringing your passport, check it all the time. Now, this is probably my most favorite bit of kit. This is my bum bag, or fanny pack as you Americans call it. This was so handy. In here, I would have my phone, wallet, headphones, sunglasses, my little DJI camera, my spoon would live in the front because I would use it all the time. It was so handy just to have all the things that I used often right here. I didn't have to dig in my bag or like reach around into my hip pockets. It was always right in front of me. And in towns, like you're not carrying your backpack around a lot. So having this just means you can keep all your valuables together. And I would also carry my passport around in here when I was in town. The bum bag I used was from Light AF. It's a perfect little boxy shape, so I can fit a lot in it without it being a big bag. When this breaks, I'm just gonna replace it with another one because I was so happy with it. So yeah, if you're looking for a little bum bag to get, I recommend this. And as the name suggests, they are Light AF. So to round out my bits and pieces, I had my little toothbrush, which is just a bamboo toothbrush cut in half, and it's small toothpaste. My headphones. I actually brought wired headphones on the trail. Everyone brings wired because you don't have to worry about charging them. But personally, I listen to music a lot and like audio quality is something that I value. So next time I would definitely bring my wireless headphones. For my GPS, I used a Garmin InReach Mini 2. These guys are great. It was nice to be able to send my family a ping every day of where I was up to. I know they had a map at home where they would mark off where I was, so it was nice for them to follow along as well. I highly recommend bringing a GPS device like this. People die on the trail every year, and I'm sure there'd be a lot more deaths if people didn't carry these. You hear stories on the trail all the time about certain people getting helicoptered out in the Sierras and things like that, and a lot of those situations wouldn't go as well if they didn't have one of these, so definitely bring one. My water filtration system, I filtered pretty much every single liter of water I drank for those 4 months. All I have is a soya squeeze. You don't really need anything more. There is a few options out there, but for me, soya squeeze was the one I used, and a CNOC, which is just a bladder. I started off with a different one. It was more plasticky and it was hard to scoop up water. So Ceenox is super easy. I suggest just starting with one of these. Everyone that doesn't start with one definitely finishes with one. It's the most versatile and easy to fill bladder. So get yourself a Ceenox and save yourself some time. And my last two little bits and pieces, I've got my head torch, which lived in my hip belt, and my little wallet. This one's also from Light AF, but there's heaps of brands that do just a little DCF wallet. One of the bulkier items in my pack was my food bag. Don't think about your food bags too much, but I got a Z-Pax Dyneema food bag. This is about 3 to 4 days worth of food, and it just is a perfect shape for my backpack, so I like it. But a lot of people just use plastic bags or like an odor-proof OPSAC. I just like having something a bit more sturdy, because in towns I could go do my shopping and just carry this around. I wouldn't have to get a plastic bag all the time. So if you are looking for a nice sturdy food bag which is still light, I would definitely recommend this guy. On the topic of food, I also brought a snack bag. This is just the OPSAC odor-proof Ziploc. I'd put all my snacks for the day in here, my lunch, my dinner. That way, like every time I stopped for food, I didn't have to go through my food bag and try to find everything and like pull my whole bag apart. So snack bags are a must. So moving on to my clothing, as you can see, I brought a lot of it. I brought my down jacket, a fleece, rain jacket, hiking shirt, town shirt, thermal top, thermal pants, rain pants, my hiking shorts, 3 pairs of socks, a pair of Injinji liners, my gloves, and also I brought a pair of camp or town shoes. Clothing on trail is definitely the biggest gray area, with people knowing what to bring and what not to bring. Straight away, there's a few things that I would lose out of my kit for next trip. One being, I would either bring a down jacket or a fleece, not both. Personally, I sent my down jacket home after the Sierras because I didn't have a need for it at all. I hardly even wore it there, sometimes to sleep in if I wanted to feel a bit extra cozy, but I never got cold in just my fleece. I would also send home my town shirt and maybe just bring a thermal top. Thermal top is a little more versatile, and the only time you really need a town shirt is when you're doing your washing, and then after that you can just put your hiking shirt back on. I would definitely swap my rain pants out for wind pants, mainly just for the PCT because it hardly ever rained. We got maybe 2 days of moderate rain. So I would swap them out for wind pants for sure. I did use them on some mornings when it was colder, but wind pants would do that same, like would serve the same purpose, and they'll be a lot lighter. I would probably also leave my thermal pants at home. Sometimes I slept in them and it was nice and cozy, but yeah, I could definitely get by without them. I never wore them in the day or anything like that. So I would probably think about leaving these at home next time. For my socks, I brought 3 pairs of Darn Toughs and 1 pair of Injinji liners. My setup for this is I would wear my liners and then 1 pair of Darn Toughs over the top, and they worked really well for me. 3 was definitely a sweet spot. I would try just hiking 2 of them and then keep 1 for sleeping. And after the desert, you kind of see water enough to be able to wash your stuff frequently and just hang it on your pack to dry during the day. So for hiking shorts, I just wore a pair of running shorts. That's all you need. You don't need anything crazy. Just get a pair of running shorts. Believe it or not, these were like snow white when I started, and obviously they're not anymore. And after I hit the monument, these guys held out the whole time, and after I hit the monument, they ripped the whole way up. So yeah, they were hanging in there just as much as I was at the end. So my overall vibe on clothing would be, you probably don't need as much as you think you need. There may be some sections where you do. For example, if the Sierra is a really high snow year or something like that, you might need a fleece and a down jacket. But for me, I didn't need it at all. So it's really like situational. So what you can also do is have a bounce box. And what that is, it's just a USPS box that you can bounce down the trail. I use one of these personally, and I had like my beard trimmer in it, bits of gear that I would swap out that I didn't need for certain sections. So how that would work is I would send it about a month ahead, and when I would get to that town, I would go pick my box up, shave my beard, swap out gear, put it all back, and then send it back down trail. So if you're an international, it's not so like necessary if you are from America, because you can just send it home and have someone send it back. But if you are international, I do recommend the bounce box. It's so handy, because the reality is there's so many things that you will need to take on trail, but you won't need them 100% of the time. And there's stuff that's really specific to certain sections. So a bounce box can just help you lighten up your backpack a little bit, and it just means you only need to carry extra weight when you really need it. For navigation, I use the Far Out app on my iPhone. I would say 90% of the people out there are using Far Out. It's such a handy tool, specifically for things like knowing where campsites are and if there's water at certain spots. you can just click a water source on there and there will be someone that's ahead of you on trail that's commented like, yes, there's water, no, there's not water, and you can really base your day around that. So that's all the gear I took with me on the PCT. Now on future hikes, there's a lot of stuff that I will be cutting out. The main area that I will be losing things from is my clothing. For future hikes, I will definitely just be taking my fleece, rain jacket, hiking shirt, maybe a thermal top, but I think I could get away with just these 3. As I said, I'll be swapping my rain pants out for wind pants. I still like the idea of 3 pairs of socks, but I could maybe get away with 2. And one thing I'll be leaving at home is my camp shoes. They were great to have, but they weigh half a kilo, and I think that's half a kilo I could do without. The amount of times I actually needed these was probably 0. They were nice to have, and I did wear them quite a bit, but I could get away without them. Although I'll be leaving these at home, I'll still look at the option of bringing some sort of like really minimal camp shoe, because sometimes it's nice just to take your shoes off, especially if they're wet or something like that. It is nice to be able to have something that you can put on your feet. I do love this mattress, but I'm in the pursuit of going super ultra light, and unfortunately a big inflatable mattress isn't the lightest bit of kit you can get. For my next hike, I'm just going to see how minimal I can get away with while still being comfortable, and I'm going to try a nice thin foam mat. For cooking, you guessed it, I will be staying cold soaking. It's so much easier, it's so much lighter, and the benefits for me far outweigh the negatives. I think overall, when putting your kit together, you just need to really ask yourself, do I actually need this? There's a famous Thru-Hiker saying that's don't pack your fears, and I think that's really true. There's so many things we bring that end up just sitting in our bag because we thought we might need them. And I always ask myself, why did I think it was a good idea to bring a down jacket and a fleece into the Southern California desert? Thanks for watching, guys, and happy hiking.